once you have kids, it's all about prioritization. What's important, what's least important, what's important and urgent, what's important but not urgent, what can I delegate, what must be done, what shouldn't be done. This is like the number one principle I adhere to, because there's so many all of a sudden things you have to take care of. That sometimes it may feel overwhelming unless you have this clear structure of, okay, this is important, this is not that important. And so I'm going to focus on getting this done.
Welcome to the Family Dialogues podcast. What if the skills that keep a complex tech project from falling apart are the very same skills that could reduce chaos in a family, strengthen a marriage, and help a mother build a business without losing herself? In a world that tells women they must choose between leadership, motherhood, and entrepreneurship, today we're asking whether the real question is not doing more, but leading differently. Our guest, Nionila Ivanova, shows us how project management, empathy, and adaptability can reshape both work and family life. Nionila is a certified project management professional, certified Scrum Master, serial entrepreneur, and founder of IT project management training for women. With over 15 years of experience leading tech teams and complex projects, she helps women build confidence, step into leadership, and apply project management skills in both business and life. Nionila, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much. That was an excellent introduction. Thank you so much for having me.
You are certified in project management. You've worked on a lot of team projects. And so I think a lot of mothers can relate to you as it relates to how to juggle work, especially if you're head of a team, and also family life without feeling burnt out. So to start our conversation, how would you define work-life balance in a way that is realistic rather than idealized for the typical woman or mother?
Yep, it's a good question. I'd probably start off by saying that you're not alone. Otherwise, it wouldn't be such a hot topic, for forever, actually. Even with all the AI conversations, right? Work-life balance question is always out there and is still there. So number one, you're definitely not alone. Number two, it's important to identify what it means for you personally, because it does look different for each one of us. So be honest with yourself. What would that balance look like to you? And also, if it helps, try to replace the word balance with the word harmony and see if it helps you guide you in the right direction in terms of what that ideal, like scheduling and approach to things at work, at home that you do will make you feel the most self, will make you feel the most complete, happy, content. And that would be the starting point, because you can't work on your work-life balance if you don't really know what that means, or you go by what other people say, but they're not you.
Yeah, I love that you say work life harmony instead of work-life balance, because I think harmony is a bit more relatable. How can you have both without one clashing or without them clashing into each other and without you feeling depleted, resentful, just unhappy with where you are, whether it's in your family life or in your professional life? So I don't know if you're able to give an example, but for you, for parents or mothers specifically who are listening, when they hear work-life harmony, how have you created work-life harmony, especially as an entrepreneur and as a mother? What does
Yeah.
your day look like? How do you check in with yourself to say, okay, this is harmonious. The balance that I have between work and family is harmonious right now. How do you do that?
Tanisha, you do not want to know what my day looks like.
You're struggling with the work-life harmony as well.
No, but I'm in harmony with that. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'll give some tips for sure and advice because I recognize that it might be challenging, but that's the whole point. You start with yourself. You start being honest with yourself. And I haven't always been self-employed, right? Like entrepreneur. I've worked for organizations and that's where it hit me, obviously, especially when I had kids. Before it was easy, easy, just easy. Once you have kids, things change quite a bit. And I started to be very strict with my boundaries. And it's easy, to say it like that. It's not easy at all. It's quite intimidating, especially when you're a woman working in male dominated environment, or if you are employed by one of the biggest organizations in the world and you're quite young, or you have ambitions, career ambitions, and it's very unorthodox to build boundaries and to say, actually, no, I'm not going to work at 9 p.m. Or no, I am going to be remote on these days and you figure it out. Like my path wasn't quite perhaps in that regard traditional or commonly accepted. And I'm just giving you an example of how I did it. I'm not telling everyone just go and, argue with your bosses. Obviously, you choose what you want to do. I'm just showing you that sometimes unless you do something about it, not like if nothing changes, nothing changes. And I was actually way back over 10 years ago, before it was much more common to work remotely. I was one of the first ones, if not the first one in my organization to say, if you want me to continue working in your organization, I need to be remote for as long as I need to, all days, because I just had a baby and I'm not going to compromise it. It was a huge risk, right? You just had a baby, you want financial stability for your baby. And I didn't have a plan B. But again, that's me. To me, it was my priority number one is my child. Even if I don't have the financial support to support her, I'll figure it out, but I need to be with her. That was a non-negotiable for me. So I started building out those non-negotiables and boundaries and being sticking to it, not being mean or arrogant about it. But if something to me, it's not normal if you have a baby. I'm not supposed to be back at work in 3 months. This is ridiculous. This is absurd. To me, this was just unacceptable. Maybe for somebody else, it's fine. So again, back to what works for you. So to me, that was part of my work-life balance. I have to be home and work from home. I'm still working, but if I need to feed my baby every 2 hours, I'm there to feed my baby every 2 hours, things like that. So that's okay.
So women who are listening and they might be new
Mhm.
mothers or they might already have young children and they're realizing the being in the office 5 days a week, 8 hours minimum, for example, is not working out. And they need to advocate for themselves, create the boundaries, but at the same time doing it in a way that they're not going to lose their jobs. So how would you advise a woman who is listening, who maybe just wants to spend 1 day or 2 days at home working remotely? How would you advise her to have that conversation with her superior, with her supervisor to say, I need to be home and I am still wanting to work on the project without being considered not part of the team anymore, not as committed, and run the risk of being fired? How would she broach that
Yeah.
conversation?
Also on top of that, women also carry a lot of labels, right? If it was a man approaching with something like this, it would be taken differently. Like for women, it's twice as hard because then we automatically we get labeled as arrogant or, too bossy or too mean or too soft. We're never perfect, right? It's always too much, too little, too so being aware of that, but also building the conversation, being aware that you don't label yourself in those terms. And nowadays, if you know your manager's persona, you can use AI tools to help you construct that dialogue in a way that delivers the right message, to that persona in particular. But with my experience and also what I would recommend, number one is make sure you are a great worker. I was a really good employee, right? I was needed in the company. I did a lot of things. I took initiative. I was very organized. I did my job really well. I taught others and helped others to do their jobs. So I was needed. And that was one of the reasons why that conversation made sense. If I was easily replaceable, then, it would have been a harder conversation to have. Again, there's nobody irreplaceable, obviously, but if you are a good employee, as much as there is, with the market, there's a lot of candidates to choose from. It's very difficult to find the right one. If you are the right one and you're doing your job very well, then yeah, it's a much easier conversation to have. And you can say, I will be a happier employee and I'll do even better because I'll be happy. I won't have to question different things or worry about different things. I'll be very focused on my work because I won't have to worry that I have to rush home to pick up my kid or whatever the situation might be. Please allow me that just one day. Let's try it for a month or however. Again, you use the tools as well to structure the conversation the way you feel your manager will perceive it the best. But at the same time, I would advise not to play a victim. Again, back to the labeling. You're not begging for something. They're not doing you a favor. You are working, you're producing the results, at the end of the day, profit back to the company. So it's not like a charity that you're asking or donation for them to make. You're literally telling them, if you do this, you'll get even more out of what you're investing.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from you is to understand your supervisor's or manager's personality to decide how to have that conversation. So it's not a one thing fit all conversation. It depends on the personality that you're interacting with. And also to evaluate yourself as an employee, that you are in fact a good employee to this company, and it would be a loss to them to lose you. So again, you have to evaluate, be honest and evaluate yourself. Am I really a good employee before I make this request? That's
Well, let's say don't question it, right?
okay.
Because I am a good employee or a valuable employee because you make a list.
Okay. Yeah. And you mention what those are. Yes, as women, sometimes we tend to fall into the victim way of speaking. So I like that you encourage us to be assertive, showing how the company will benefit from us
Mhm.
being able to work remotely because we'll be more productive, we'll be happier, we'll be more committed, and so on. So it's to have that holistic process in mind before you have the conversation with your boss.
Yes, most definitely.
Okay. So, you do have children. So I want to know, how do you protect your time and energy for your family without sacrificing your business goals? Because you're an entrepreneur, and a lot of entrepreneurs who, especially women who have young children, it's trying to figure out, how do I not be so depleted? And how can I still protect the time that I have with my family as I build a business? Or if you're not even an entrepreneur, you're still looking forward to climbing the corporate ladder. You want this promotion, you're aiming for it. You're launching a product. You want to be very successful at the launch. How do you protect family time when you have these important things going on?
To be honest, same things. Boundaries, priorities, right? So boundaries. This is my time with the family. It's uncompromised. Maybe on very rare occasions, but it has to be like every day cannot be a rare occasion, right? So uncompromised family time. This is just a non-negotiable. And if somebody needs me to work past that time, I just say no. No is like a full sentence, right? But again, it's a choice. And again, I don't want everybody just to go and quit their jobs. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying figure out what your path is that makes you happy, because at the end of the day, years later, you don't want to regret not doing things you could have done if you had that courage, or, if somebody told you it's possible. I'm just giving you an example of somebody who did some things that were probably quite bold, but to me, those were non-negotiables, because yeah, there's more to life than sitting in the office. So definitely having those boundaries, where's family time, where's work time. But it goes the same for the family. If this is my work time, the kids have to understand it and respect it. And it's not going to happen overnight, depending again on if you work from home or what the schedule looks like. But you teach them that. And it's actually a beautiful thing, because when they see you work and do things, they pick that up without you even noticing. And then all of a sudden, like several years later, I'll give you my example. My daughter was celebrating her 7th birthday. It was several years ago. She was celebrating her 7th. So she was 6, turning 7. She created a guest list. She went on Evite, the app. I think I showed her the app or mentioned that there is an app, and then she just figured it out. She created a message to invite everybody on her list. She made a list of things we need to buy to prepare for the party. She ordered on Amazon the decoration stuff at 6 years old. I was just like, who is this child? How does she know? But I think she picked it up just for seeing me, from hearing and seeing me work, and then applying some of those things to our household, and then it was just very natural to her.
Yeah.
And yeah, and since then, like, she's an amazing project manager. She's 10, turning 11 now, but she's like, she organizes everything for everybody ahead of time. Like, she's on top of everything. And then at the end of the day, it makes my life so much easier. When she was 5, we went to the beach, and as younger entrepreneurs who went to the beach, me and my husband, guess what we packed? Laptops. That's all we packed. Laptops to the beach, so we can sneak in some, while the kids are enjoying themselves in the beach and unbothered, we can nicely sit at the beach and, do some things on the side. So back to the balance. Like, that was work, but it felt nice work, right? Because you're at the beach and the kids are happy and everything's great. My 5-year-old packed all the toys and diapers and everything else for her younger sister. I didn't even think about it. Talking of a mother, my head I was excited about I don't even remember what it was, some initiative, a project I was doing. I was just quite excited to, and that's why I took the laptop. My husband needed to wanted to finish some things, and we didn't even think, and she packed everything for her. But I think that she just picked it up from, observing us, and probably me in particular, doing all those things and preparing and organizing. Yeah, so that's a funny story.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm hearing you say too, which is hard for women to do, like a no is a complete sentence, and to really create the boundaries at work and at home. So as you mentioned, at work, every day should not be an emergency. So if every day is an emergency, I guess whoever is head of the project or whoever is head of the department, something needs to be assessed, and, things need to change for smooth streaming of the task and activities to be done. So if you're listening and you're in that kind of department, I'm assuming if you're in the leadership position, you might need to reevaluate what you're doing. And what if you are an employee? The department is constantly on fire. There's never just a smooth flowing week. It's always an emergency. How would an employee be able to say to their manager, we need to change something? This is not flowing right?
Well, if it's always an emergency, then this is their norm. Then this is their smooth week. Everything is an emergency. Why would you expect something to change the following week? It's always an emergency, so everybody can relax about it. It's always going to be an emergency. But you have people, not robots for now, working in organizations, and they have lives outside the work. And perhaps if they lived their lives a little more, not everything would be an emergency at work. But also it should kind of, and I know it's hard. I'm saying it like, I know it's hard, and probably somebody would be listening and like, yeah, it's easy for you to say, but I need my job. I also needed my job. But like I said, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And again, I'm not telling you please quit your jobs or argue with your bosses. I'm just saying sometimes you take that step, but it's a difficult step and you feel, what am I doing? Or it's the wrong one. But then you can't open new doors when you don't close the previous one. You can't walk into a new opportunity when you're stuck in the closed space of the one you currently have, because you don't see those opportunities, right? You're kind of stuck and you feel that's the only thing I have. Just always remember that. I mean, I had a change in management at some point when I was working for corporate, and I had a woman for a manager, and she had kids, and she had to take her kids to daycare since they were a few months old. I mean, norm in the US. And when she found out that my older one, the only child I had at the time, was like 1 or 1.5 years old, and I was still doing partially remote, she said, absolutely not. This needs to stop. You're gonna you're gonna come into the office 5 days a week. And I'm like, why? Am I not doing my job? No, you're great. But I had to, leave my kids, so you have to go through the same. The fact that you haven't done it already is like outrageous. Who are you? Why were you allowed to? And I'm like, because I advocated for it. Nobody just handed it to me. Nobody offered me, oh, you just had a baby. Why don't you stay at home? Nobody said that to me. I had to give that as an idea, or in my case, it was kind of an ultimatum. I was like, this is the only way. Take it or don't take it. I understand, but that's the only way. And yeah, we had that conversation with her. She was not happy. She started doing, and those who work in the corporate probably know, she started doing all sorts of nasty things. And I just quit. I said, I'm not doing this anymore. Because I was so stressed. I was beyond stressed. Like my body at some point, literally in conversation with her, shut down. She's talking and I couldn't hear her. It was one of the scariest things I've ever experienced. And to me, it was a signal that I'm way past the point where there's no way. I have to leave now. I have to. And so I left, and yeah, it was, so I left my job. At that point, I think somehow my husband had a similar situation at his job, where one of the women were complaining, why is he a dad? Because he also had to advocate. Because in my household, back to the work-life balance and in my household, I'm not raising the kid alone. I have to work from home, but you also have to come up with that arrangement to help me. I'm not doing it by myself. And that's the other piece that we take it all on us. Like, oh, how do we as women and mothers make it work? Well, you engage your partner if you're fortunate to, or maybe sometimes it's fortunate not to have one. If you have that kind of opportunities, remember and kind of engage those people, right? In my case, I had a husband, still have my husband, and it was not like, there wasn't even a maybe. It was, we're doing it together, period. So he had to come up with a similar arrangement, and he met a lot of resilience, but not from the management, from the women who heard and were outraged. How come we didn't have that? But they never asked, right? Again, if nothing changes, they never asked.
Okay, so thank you for sharing those details of your experience. And it's unfortunate that it was another woman who had a problem with you working from home so I guess because she suffered, she expected you to suffer as well. But I think the important message you're sharing from that story is that you have to advocate for yourself. And if the work environment becomes too toxic, you have to be brave enough to seek other employment. And on top of that, when we think about work-life balance, sometimes we automatically think of just the mom. And you brought into this too that your husband also had to advocate so he can have more time with your children. So it's also for dads who are listening to this episode to say, okay, what can I do to be more present at home with my children? Because then it will benefit the children. Obviously, it will definitely benefit the marriage because then your wife will not be so drained and stressed out where she has to be juggling work and the children and managing the home. So it's really
And then,
to
yeah,
advocate for yourself. And those who are angry, as you said, they did not ask. So if nothing changes, nothing changed, right? So it's for you to ask your manager if you can have these arrangements. And if it's not working out for you, is to be bold enough to say, okay, I need to find another job that is more in alignment with my family life, not your family life being more in alignment with your job. And then the family life gets damaged because of that.
yes, and you can treat all of that actually as a project on its own and plan it as a project. Like, so these are my tasks, right? The goal of the project is, I don't know, to have a more hybrid work, for example, right? Arrangement. So these are my tasks. Talk to the management, provide like a list, like communication, whatever the steps may be, talk to my partner, whatever the steps might be, depending on the goals, what you're trying to achieve with your balance. And then in project, at the beginning of each project, you always think through potential risks, right? So one of your potential risks is they will say no. There might be some issues. They will start looking for replacement, or even if not, then you need to start looking. In any case, you will need to start looking. So what we do in project management, we try for the risk not to become an issue. So we come up with mitigation plans, right? So your mitigation plan is start applying for jobs. So even before you have the conversation, start applying for jobs. If you have a job offer by the time you have the conversation, it makes, things very easy, and maybe you won't even have the conversation, but at least you're being proactive. You're not just, okay, let me talk and see what happens. You're a few steps ahead. So yeah, treat it as a project. Write down what you need to do, who you need to speak with. Your stakeholders is your, household, your work, your management. There's, if you have a mentor in the company, you can always have a conversation with them first. It depends. That's what I'm saying. Every situation is different, but you like broaden your mind in a sense a little bit and just think a little bit ahead and outside the box. Yeah, and lay it down, look at it, assess it, and start,
It's
taking.
kind of like re-engineering it backwards, right? So you want to work remotely a few times a week or to be able to not work until 6, 7 p.m. at night. So you look at everything that could go wrong with your advocacy and come up with potential solutions for that before you have the conversation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Identify your risks and how are you going to mitigate them so they don't become an issue. And if it's an issue, how severe it is, and what can you do about it?
Mm-hmm. And it's not just the workplace, but also at home as well, because not everybody would necessarily have an agreeable partner in the sense, for example, a mother might realize she probably needs to go part-time just to try and get everything going because the
Yeah,
children are so young. And then the partner or the spouse might not agree with that. So it's not just looking at the job aspect of
exactly.
it, but looking at home. What are the potential risks? And I think that's a good conversation too. That's a good way of planning for that conversation. If your spouse, or, for example, would say, but we're going to lose 25% of our income, then if you look at the potential risk of going part-time, you can say, okay, I've considered it. We can cut back on this. We can instead of going on international vacations, we go local. So yeah, it's so just look at that as well with your spouse to say, you're going to bring up this change, but this is the solution you have for the potential problem that can come up. Yeah. Okay. So for project management in the corporate world, now we want to take it to home. What are some tools that you have used as a tech expert managing projects that are very helpful when it comes to managing your family and family life and just making sure everything in the home is streamlined and not chaotic?
Before before any apps or tech in particular, I just constantly apply the principle of basically kind of Eisenhower matrix mixed with Moscow. These are, for those who are not familiar, you can check online what those means, but basically it's prioritization. Because especially once you have kids, it's all about prioritization. What's important, what's least important, what's important and urgent, what's important but not urgent, what can I delegate, what must be done, what shouldn't be done. This is like the number one the number one principle I adhere to, because there's so many all of a sudden things you have to take care of that sometimes it may feel overwhelming unless you have this clear structure of, okay, this is important, this is not that important, and so I'm going to focus on getting this done. This is important but I have time, so I'm going to focus on something that's more urgent. So definitely prioritization, and that's something I feel like I had to a little bit educate my whole family about, my kids and my husband as well, because I don't know if anybody noticed, men cannot multitask. It's just very difficult for them.
Yep, it is.
So in which case, like, he would just go about doing things the way he usually does, but at some point, none of it made sense, because why are you doing, like, why are you, and it was great things, but it's just, why are you cleaning, I'm like making this up, but basically, why are you cleaning the windows in the house when you need to cook dinner, for example, because it's dinner time and we have nothing to eat? I'm just, I'm making it on the spot, but the things that didn't make much sense, his prioritization did not align with the rest of the family's prioritization,
Yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah.
sometimes when the kids were younger, he would just do things he's used to doing. Like, he had an idea to go out and do something. He wouldn't even say anything. He would just leave. Where'd you go? How about the kids? Take them with you. Like, you want to go, take them with you. But he didn't mean to be mean, or
He
it's
just
just,
think differently, and that's what a lot of women need to
right?
understand.
He's like,
Men just think differently from us.
yeah, he wouldn't even, and he would be like, oh, I'm like, yeah, I have no problem for you to go wherever you're going, but these are the two little ones that you're taking with you. I'm just letting you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
So as you were speaking, I think it's the Eisenhower matrix, and I think they do have a website. And as you said, it's important and urgent, important, not urgent,
Yes.
not important, urgent. And so when you go and you put your things into this matrix, your task, your family responsibilities, it's something that you then will be able to know what you need to do today, the next thing, the time that you need to schedule to do the next task, and what you can delegate and what you can eliminate. So that's a good strategy for parents who are listening and their home is chaotic and it seems like nothing seems to be able to get done and everybody's stressed, is to really look at the Eisenhower matrix. And if your children are older too, is so if you can put the matrix up on the wall or something and you complete it together, but have it done on a regular basis so that you can try to help to streamline. And if I'm not mistaken, they probably have an app too. I think I saw that maybe a year or two ago, but you can use that to kind of help you streamline. Yep. So you have another project management tool that you have used with your family that works well?
Tool-wise for family, I tried different things, but nothing was specifically technology-wise effective. But I applied a lot of, like, the Eisenhower matrix principle, Pomodoro principle.
Can you explain that one?
Yes, where you work in increments. it actually really, really helped me at some point. There were a lot of things, a lot of projects, a lot of initiatives, plus all the family things. And with the prioritization, it was still a lot of things were urgent and important. And I was like, how am I, how one me can handle all of this? And then I started to apply that principle where you do that focused work and you pick the amount, like 20 minutes or whatever, just no interaction, like nothing interrupts you. The kids are out of your space, the phone is out of your space, unless it's something you have to do on the phone. You're just completely focused on that one task for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever you allocate. Then you take a 10-minute or 5-minute break. Even if you're like, take that break, walk it out, have a sip of water, go outside if you can, or just, I don't know, do some exercises, 5-minute yoga, whatever, but take that break. And then your next focus time period starts for your next task. Could be the same task, but the idea is that you dedicate that focus time per task. And that's how you progress. And that really helped me at some point.
And it's a good modeling for your children too, because I can see children adapting this for their studying and their projects too. So they know their parents worked in these incremental points, time, and so they are learning too that they don't have to try and struggle through a whole hour, 2 hours to
Yeah.
get a project done, but they can do it in 20-minute blocks, take a break, and so on. And that I can see how that can help to reduce the level of stress from the parents' point of view and also for the children. So when it comes to communication and ownership, how can parents have good communication similar to strong teams in corporate life that again ensure that there is no assumptions, uh, arguments, miscommunication, and so on? Because what one parent think, they assume the other one is also thinking or agreeing to. So what can you take from corporate life to use in the family to ensure that communication and planning and all of that is just as strong as if you're in the office?
Mm-hmm. What I found helpful is creating a shared calendar on the phones. So whatever scheduling for kids or me or my husband, anything family related scheduling, he sees it. If I put it in, he sees it right away and on his calendar automatically. So I guess that would be one of the tools to use. And that streamlines a lot of things in terms of, oh, I didn't know, I didn't realize, you didn't tell me, or I forgot or something, because it's always there with alerts and everything. It takes, I feel like sometimes it may take time to create that omni-channel of communication, because sometimes we perceive one person can say something, but the way we perceive it is different because we have a different background, a different baggage of experience behind our backs, right? And it's important to be honest and clear. So, about it, that will really help. Even if like you didn't like what was said to you, you can say, I don't, I don't mean it in a mean way. I'm just sharing how I felt when you said something. But again, it depends on the people. In our case, we both were very open to that and understanding of that. And he was like, oh, I didn't even realize. And, that's because, yeah, that's not how he thinks, right? He's just, and same with me. I say things. And again, back to also, I think the wiring, like we can have 300 thoughts at once and express it in one sentence and it all makes sense to us, right? Because that's how we are. For them, it has to be very number one. Tra, tra, tra.
Yeah,
Number
yeah,
two. And yeah, there's also three. Let's stay focused. Number three.
yeah, yeah,
Understand, not trying to deny the personality and the traits, but accept it. And we can also learn from each other as well. So accept it and in a way improve each other, get better in communicating with each other. And again, that the kids also see it. They see how we communicate with each other and they pick that up as well.
yeah. So it's using technology. So everything that you can automate in the calendar or app or notes, even your grocery list and all of that. Once one person
Mhm.
sees something missing, just make a note of it in the shared notes. And also, it's
Yeah.
not, I can
Mhm.
see how they can help to reduce mental load as well. So it's not just one person having to remember, for example, all the items you need from the supermarket, the bills that need to be paid. So anything that you can streamline,
So we
standing
do have
order,
shared. Yes,
right,
yes, we do have
right, and
shared
the
notes for the
calendar
groceries.
for appointments and everything. So
Mhm.
everybody's aware of it at the same time. And it's not just
Yeah,
mom who's usually the person
yeah. And
having to
actually,
remember everything.
funny enough, if I may, with regard in the context of delegation and just, having that acknowledgement and respect for each other in the family, it was my husband who paid my attention to the fact that I'm putting too much on myself. I didn't even realize it. And it's funny to say because I'm a little like I'm very proud of him, but embarrassed, like, in a way embarrassed, but also not of myself. Once we had kids, everything changed for us in terms of the household maintenance. He's doing everything, everything, laundry, cleaning, cooking, like everything. I'm like a Cinderella after she found the prince. It's like, oh, this is dirty. I'm kidding. I'm not when I can, and it's very like hybrid and dynamic. It's not like, "Oh, this is your list of chores." But he's especially when the kids were younger, he didn't like I didn't even know how to turn on the washing machine for 6 months. Like that's he really stepped up. But so that's why I'm saying it's kind of funny that then he paid my attention that I'm taking too much on myself. I'm thinking like I'm not doing anything. What does it mean? Like, but let me say, oh yes, I'm doing so much.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think as
no,
mothers,
no, no.
I think as mothers, though, I see his point because some things that men would just let slide, again, they don't see it as urgent and important at the same time. So that can be done later. And
Yeah,
for
yeah,
us
yeah.
mothers, we need it to be done now. For example,
Yes.
the house must always be spick and span, not a dirt, nothing out of place. And your husband might be like, we're not even having guests. It's okay. But we are
No,
just
no.
overwhelmed with wanting to keep things in order. And we take it upon ourselves to want to have certain structure and everything done all the time in a certain
What?
way.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and I'm sure a lot of women can relate. It was not me, still not. It's he's the everything has to be sparkless. I'm for everything to be clean, obviously, but like again, back to priorities. My priorities are a little, I don't have I no longer strive for perfection after I had kids. I learned very quickly that good enough is good enough, you
Yeah.
know?
And that's a good way of not taking on too much on yourself too. Good enough
Yes,
is good enough. Yeah.
but what he meant is in terms of the kids. And I wasn't like a mama bear, or at least I didn't feel like it, especially because I had a lot of work. So I feel like I couldn't be a helicopter mom. But there were so many things I did without even recognizing until he pointed that out. And then that ties back to delegation, where we talked about Eisenhower and one of the things, right? You can delegate, but there were a lot of things I could have delegated to my children without even recognizing it, thinking they're too small, they won't understand, they won't do it right. Trust me, moms, delegate. And if I may give you a quick example. So we celebrated, I think, my younger daughter's birthday. There was a birthday party, and then everybody left. And then one of the neighbors, their friends, stayed. They wanted to watch a movie. And, in our house, absolutely you can watch a movie, but first you clean up after the party. It may have been your birthday, and that's the reason all the mess is there. So you're cleaning up. And I told the girl that if she can wait a little bit while my girls clean up, and one of the things they had to do is to mop the floor. And the girl was 9 years old, 9 years old, and she was like, "What is that thing?" She's never seen a mop. And what does it do? I was like, it mops the floor, but you have to like help it mop the floor. So long story short, the girl was kind of excited to try out mopping the floor. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, like, should I let her? Or is her mom's going to kill me saying, you
Give
right
me.
child? Yes, she went to a party to mop the floor. I'm starting to panic. I'm like, are you sure it's okay? I think I texted the mom, like, there's this situation. And the mom was like, "Oh, please put her to work." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So we let her mop the floors. She was so excited, so happy, and and the mom was grateful. She's like, "When's the next party?"
Okay, so yeah, it's easy to get her to
But
get used to the.
apparently the mom never thought to engage her child in any sort of activity like this. So that was me
Hmm.
uh, with my
Yeah.
much younger children, but that was also me until my husband was like, "You need to
Okay.
step back and let them." Yeah.
That's a good tip to see, even at a young age.
Yeah.
If you're not even sure, there are lots of parenting websites that you can Google to say appropriate chores for children under 5, and then you put in the different age groups and it can give you the suggestions so that you can start delegating. And I guess the benefit it does too for children is that it makes them feel capable and competent, which then increases their self-esteem. And it makes them also more committed to the family because they're doing this because they're part of the family. They're keeping the home in order because it's their home, and they're more invested in the things in the home because they're also caring for it. So there's lots of benefits to
And it
delegating.
helps with the work-life balance. It helps keep
Yes.
their parents happier too in a way, and more available for other things like playing with the kids, for example, instead of cleaning because that part's already done. Yeah. But again, it's like paying attention to those things that you can delegate. Sometimes you don't think you can, but you can. And again, even if they're doing perfect, if it's good enough, take it for that. And next
And
time
for
they'll accomplish better.
And for us parents who think, for example, the dishwasher need to be stocked a specific way, just let it be, and they stack it the way they want to stack it, and at least the work is being done. I think sometimes the reason we don't delegate is because we want things to be done a particular way, and they're not going to do it a particular way, so we rather stress ourselves and do it ourselves. So I guess we have to get to a point where we're okay with just letting go. I want
Yes.
to turn to entrepreneurship quickly with you. There are lots of women who think they always need to prove themselves and so on. And they might be interested, now that they have children, they might be interested in doing some kind of entrepreneurial work part-time while they stay at home with their children. What kind of mindset shift do you think women need to have if they want to go into the entrepreneurial world?
Good question. Accept failure fast. Because I feel like in the corporate world, there's no room for that. But in entrepreneurship, if you don't make room for that, it's gonna kill you. Um, Focus on the process and the goals in the process, driven by the purpose. Was that too complicated?
Yeah.
So basically, entrepreneurship is not easy, but it can be very rewarding as long as you always remind yourself why you did it in the first place and you keep going and keep pivoting. It's not a straight line like in corporate, straight letter step, then next step. You're like in a computer game, ding, 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 ding. In entrepreneurship, it's not like that. It's very, very, very agile. So be ready to be able to pivot, question your own ideas, not doubt, question two different things. And these are, yeah, this would be the main differences. Just have to, yeah, be very open minded and flexible and create your own structure. Be your own advocate and leader, but that goes for corporate as well. Yeah.
And I want to ask you now about the tech world, because I'm not in it in the world, but I've heard a stereotype that it's so difficult for women and extremely difficult for mothers. So for any mother who is probably thinking, I want a career change, my children are a little bit older, maybe I can go into that field. What advice do you have for mothers who are maybe taking the entrepreneurship route or maybe working with a company?
To go into the tech world.
Yeah, so those who want to go into the tech world, like, because the reputation is it's really hard, and it's hard especially on mothers. So do you have any
Mhm.
tips and advice for mothers who might be thinking, yeah, my children are older? I might want to change and go into that industry, or I might want to start have a tech startup and so on. What advice do you have for women who are curious and interested in going into the tech industry?
Don't doubt yourselves. I mean, being a mom is, what's the best way to put it? Is a big job. It already sets you up in a good way for being an exceptional leader because you already obtained so many intangible skills that are not in particular taught. You can't get an MBA in the human perception, communication, multitasking, stress management. It's not a degree. It's not taught. It's trained, and mostly through experience. And that's what mothers have. So that you're already in a good position for leadership roles in any field. Tech is no different. Again, tech is everywhere now. Any industry, there's tech involved, right? And it's getting more, and that the progression is going to continue quite exponentially that way. So feel confident, feel competent, research and upskill in the specific area that you're interested in, because tech is a very wide word. There's so much of it, but it's not all the same. It depends what you want to do, which specific industry you'd like to work in, and explore what has changed since you've been there. If you've been there, if you haven't, that's totally fine. I'll probably embrace starting with more junior roles. A lot of companies have back to work, maybe not a lot of companies, but some companies do have back to work programs. Explore those as well. Try to find the support network. That's very important, and so much, I feel like underused within women, especially in I don't know about other industries, but in the tech space, there's not as much camaraderie. And, I gave you a couple examples of my own where you would expect, right, a female manager to completely be, especially what she went through on my side, and it was complete opposite. But if you can build out those networks, that would be quite amazing. You would benefit, and the industry on it as a whole would benefit. But yeah, in terms of entering, do your research, look for any programs, embrace applying for lower level jobs just to get you started in that direction. Why not? I had to restart a few times for different reasons, and I was I happy about it? No, but I was like very confident. I knew that I'll get back to where I need to be pretty fast, and just, step by step, follow your goals. Again, you can create it as a plan. This is what I need to do. This is what I need to learn. Create goals if you want to apply. Like, okay, I'm going to apply to so many jobs each day. For some, it helps to have something like somebody would have a jar with some things, and every application they would drop a thing in the jar. It depends, but yeah. And then
Sounds good.
yeah. A feeling, a fulfill, like, okay, I'm progressing. Gives you that good feeling, good vibes to help you keep going.
Yeah. All right. That was really good advice. So my final question, what would you want to leave the listeners with regarding work-life harmony and managing your home?
Last words, huh?
Something they can hold on to, when the going gets tough.
Yeah, I was going to say dream big dreams, but that's a little, again, it's going to sound cliche, but believe in yourself. Believe that whatever you want to do is possible. There's, okay, my favorite saying, and I think it would go for the harmony question as well, is when there is a will, there is a way. Period.
Yeah.
When there is a will, there is a way.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. And for our listeners who might be interested in your work, where can they find your website? And if you're on social media, what are your handles?
itpm.training is the website. Same for social media, itpm training.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much for joining us and educating our listeners on project management tools, focusing on work-life harmony, not balance. I really love the harmony, and creating boundaries. And no is one full sentence, and also ensuring that your partner and your children are playing an active role by delegating responsibilities for them as well, and not being the one who is carrying the mental load, the physical load, everything for the family, but to delegate. So thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully our listeners will reach out to you if they need support in project management.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.